Welcome to the show. It's Hard Talk hashtag GH. Today we're looking at the issues surrounding nurses. Today is International Nurses Day. Happy International Nurses Day to all the nurses that I know, including Sister Reggie at Kolibu and Kafui Abiu. Good job. Now, in the studio we have GhOne Nketia, who's a spokesperson for the Ghana Association of Health Training Institutions. John, good morning. Welcome to the show. And also next to him is Obed Asare Bediako. He's the president of the Ghana Association of Health Training Institutions. Obed, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
First of all, Mr. President, tell us what the Ghana Association of Health Training Institutions is and how it's linked to nurses.
Thank you very much. Ghana Association of Health Training Institution is an association which was formed in 1999 to champion the cause of student nurses. Initially, it was from Greater Accra. So we are Greater Accra Health Training Institutions. We comprise of 37 NMTC, Kolebu NMTC, Pantan NTC, Western Hill School of Nursing, Nightingale School of Nursing, and other private health training institutions in Greater Accra. So that is, GATI is a blend of the private and the government health training institutions in Ghana here.
Okay.
Mr. Nketia, you belong to the Coalition of Unemployed Nurses.
Yes, please, under GATI.
Oh, still under GATI?
Yes, please.
So it means that you are a nurse, you're a nurse?
Yes, please.
And you are unemployed?
Yes, please.
For how long?
For the past 2 years.
Past 2 years. So
Yes.
you completed school
2014.
2014.
Yes, please.
What are you doing at home?
Just home-based, I've written several applications to the private sector. But, it is only in Ghana that they recruit with working experience, which is 1 to 5 years. And because we, the private accredited trainees, we are not absorbed into the system, which is the Ghana Health Service and the teaching hospitals and the Christian Health Association, the Christian Health Association of Ghana. We don't get this working experience. So hence, when you write to the private sector, you don't gain employment. So for the past 2 years, I've been home writing applications up to date.
Give me a sense of your training. So where did you train?
I trained in Kumasi, a school called Premier Nurses Training College.
Premier Nurses Training
Yes,
College.
please.
Is it accredited?
Yes, please.
How long did you train for?
2 years.
Within your training, were you exposed to any clinical practice? Did you go and work with live patients?
Yes, please. With the accredited institutions, it is being regulated by the Nurses and Midwifery Council. Before you be enrolled as a nurse in these institutions, your qualifications will be forwarded to WAEC for verification. There is something called indexing, where they write back to you that you qualify for the course that you are pursuing. So we do equal things that we do where the public trainees do. And I had all my student clinical programs of experience in the government sector.
Wow. Let me come to you. Just give us a sense of a typical day. I know you are students training.
Yes.
And where are you working now? You are practicing some clinicals at the 37 Military Hospital?
This is my final year. So
It's your final year?
I'm almost done
Okay.
with my training.
Can you help us with like how the typical day of a nurse?
It's very tiresome, but very challenging too. You go to the ward, whether you are in the afternoon shift or in the morning shift. When you go, you need to take up the ward with the assistance of the senior nurses there. Then after that, you are assigned to each patient. Whatever the patient needs at that time, it is your responsibility as the nurse to do for the person. You do bed bar for unable patients who cannot walk and who cannot do those things themselves.
Bed bath?
Bed bath.
Okay, so you actually clean them?
Yes, you clean them. That is in the morning when you go for the morning shift.
That is done by the nurses?
Yes, by the nurses.
Wow.
Sometimes the relatives assist, but it's the nurse's duty to do that.
Okay.
Yes. Then if there's feeding, you feed the person. Then also medication time, you give the medications to the patient and you ensure that the medication has been taken off. Then other routines that you do. Yes. So that is a typical morning shift of a nurse. Then after 2 o'clock, there's a change of shifts. Then another people come and take over. Then they also continue on to 8 o'clock when the night shift will take over for the next morning.
You are still training and
Yes.
you find yourself in an environment where there's always talk about, lack of motivation.
Yes.
Is the environment that you find yourself in motivating enough for you to want to be there?
Yes, personally, I love to be a nurse. That is why I went into nursing. but we don't normally deal with the incentives that we get. It's the internal desire to serve. So that is what pushes us to do more, do what we are doing now, not the incentives. Because if you tell you the incentives, maybe you not encourage your person to come into the fold.
But listen, at the end of the day, you've got to pay the bills. So if you say that it's not about that, just be frank with us. So what, you can work like a whole month and you're not paid and you're still okay, just because of your love for the job. Is that what you're saying?
No, it's not. I'm not saying that. I am saying that, like we student trainees, initially we're having allowance, which have been taken off by this government. So now it is your sole sponsorship from your parents or yourself. That is what we are doing now. And the private health training institutions is very, very worrisome because the fees are high and they don't have allowance.
I don't know if you got my question, Kaf. I don't know. What I was asking was the fact that, you know, there's the issue of the labor issues that we hear in the news with nurses. You talk about the unemployment situation, you know, all the issues that come up. And I'm asking if indeed it still motivates you to want to still be that nurse. Would you switch, you know, professions if you had to?
If it's for the motivation, I would like, but the love of the work, I would still want to be my nurse.
John smiled when you asked that question. John, you don't even have an opportunity to practice what you learned.
Yeah.
Because you have been jobless for the past 2 years. What you're talking about, this trainee nursing, would that be what John would be doing if he got a job? Or he has already gone through this stage? Where you are right now?
It's continuation.
I have gone through.
He's gone through that stage
Yes.
already. And so it's likely that if you finish, you may not get a job.
That's the possibility now.
Okay, so you've gone through what he's gone through already,
Yeah.
John. And you smiled when Beswa asked whether you feel demotivated enough to want to switch professions. Do you regret ever training to be a nurse?
No, I don't regret ever being a nurse. You know, the thing is, in nursing, it will be a little bit difficult for you to switch. Why? Because we are nurses and you are trained as nurses. And to
How are nurses trained? If you say you're nurses and you're trained, how are nurses trained?
Okay, let me put it that way. That our field is a specialized field where you cannot use your certificate to work at the bank or any other institution apart from the hospital or private or clinics. You understand? So this solely base you at one angle where you either work at a hospital or a clinic. So it will be quite difficult. That's why I was saying that we are trained as nurses and to nurse a patient. Your own is to deal with patients, sick people. You understand? So for you to switch, it will be a whole thing starts together.
But you've not been working for 3 years. Aren't your skills getting rusty?
After completion, I stayed in the house for 2 weeks. I went to a hospital in Wasekropon. I worked as a voluntary worker. But, you know, I adjusted my fund and I had to get back home. Since then, I've applied into other private hospitals as a voluntary worker. Yet, they asked me for working experience.
Okay.
You understand? So what I do is still stay in the house, continue reading, you know, what I was taught in school.
Have you considered working with the public institutions?
The public institutions, that was where, you know, forms were open up to all of us, where the private accredited trainees and the public trainees, we all applied. But here was the case that when the final list came, we were told that directives have come and the orders from above that private accredited trainees are not part of the posting.
Did you get any information as to why you were being marginalized?
The only information they gave us was the directives have come and the orders from above.
Is it that the quality of training that is being given by private institutions is not up to scratch? And so they're afraid of releasing you onto the unsuspecting Ghanaian public?
No.
To come and kill us?
No. The issue is, you know, with the public training institutions and the private training institutions, it is the same regulatory body that regulates all of us, which is the Nurses and Midwifery Council. We sit for the same licensing exams. You understand? And all of us will sit for the same licensing exams, and both parties pass. But the issue is, the main issue that, you know, they use it against the private trainees is that the public trainees are bonded, that they use the taxpayers' money to train them. But the issue is, who is a taxpayer?
Listen, I think the question is why you want to be a nurse.
Why I want to be a nurse?
Why nursing?
The issue is I have the desire to you know, to be that nurse. And you know, I have...
Who is a nurse?
Who is a nurse? Someone who has devoted him or herself to take care of the sick.
Yes. A nurse is somebody who has the passion to serve mankind in their dying stage or sick stage. A nurse is an advocate, an educator, and also a nurse is a friend. You see, it takes your passion to be a nurse. You can have all the skills, but if you don't have that passion, you cannot be a nurse. So that is what motivates people to go into nursing.
It's interesting that you say that a nurse is what, a friend.
Yes.
Yes, because you know the situation where sometimes in some of our facilities, our health facilities, some nurses behave as if they don't care when patients are in pain. Sometimes they're screaming at you. Do you get that? Have you seen that happen?
We
you
know
do.
That. You see, sometimes if you look at the nurse-patient ratio now,
indeed,
yes, it is very, very not encouraging. So sometimes when you overwork and the stress is high, you tend to give in to the stress. That is why some people behave that way. But it's not all nursing. We cannot say all nurses are not friendly. It's few.
Let me just pick up on what you said about the nurse-patient ratio. So now, the nurse population ratio improved by 20% over 2012, but did not meet the program of work for the 2013 target of 1 nurse to 800 citizens. That was the target that was set in 2013. However, the national average of the nurse to population ratio, however, almost reached the WHO target of 1 nurse per 1,000 citizens. For me, it's strange that we need nurses, but we have people like GhOne who are qualified and can't get a job. What exactly do you think the problem is, Mr. President?
You see, the problem is the people in charge of the employment and the hospitals that we have now. You see, people think that the private trained nurses don't pass through the same qualifications. Before you can become a nurse, regardless of the institution you are going through, you need to have a certain qualification by your NMC, Nurses and Midwifery Council. They verify it that you are qualified to be a nurse, and they will certify to your school before they give you the indexing. Now, people apply for the government training schools, and when they don't get the chance to go there, they apply for the private institution with the same grades and with the same qualification. You sit for the same licensure exams, which is regulated by Nurses and Midwifery Council, the same time at the same room. So the training is the same. There's no difference between a government trained nurse and a private trained nurse. Same qualification, same license by the same regulator. So when they come, because the government says he sponsored the health training institutions, which are government, he don't want to employ the private nurses.
So they go for the public
Yes.
trained ones first.
Yes.
Okay.
If initially it was first, by now they've brought a directive that they should not even sell the postings form to those trained in the private
Who brought
sector.
the directive?
Ministry of Health.
So this is you blame Ministry of Health
Yes.
for causing this.
Yes, and Mr. Last three years this week, Tony Goodman, the spokesperson for Ministry of Health, said that government is not obliged to employ private nursing. You see, it's very, very unfortunate. If you give accreditation to all the health training institutions, they come to the job market. They are all citizens, and you sideline people because of where they are trained, not on the merit. You see, you can say you not employ people who are not qualified to be nurses. It's very accepted.
I was going down there.
Yes, but people have the same qualifications from the same awarding institution. And you say you employ based on where the person is trained.
So you definitely feel discriminated against?
Yes.
What is, yes, GhOne? Yes.
You know, with the posting forms, we have 3 types of posting forms, which one comes from the Ghana Health Service, the Christian Health Association of Ghana, which comprises of the mission hospitals and the teaching hospitals. But because of this new policy, we, the private trainees, weren't given the financial clearance. Hence, leaving this, the Christian Health Association of Ghana and the teaching hospitals not being able to absorb us into their system. You understand? So this has also created, but in the previous years, the trend wasn't like that. since you go to a private accredited institution accredited by the Ministry of Health, you'll be employed, you absorb into the system. And per the application form and brochure that we bought to enroll into our various private accredited institutions, it is clearly stated at the back of the page, at page 37 and 38, that the Ministry of Health employs graduates from the private accredited nursing institutions. And per the form that they are selling right now, that they are not selling to the private trainees, it is clearly stated on it that for Ministry of Health training institutions and Ministry of Health accredited institutions, but yet at the selling point areas, they are not selling it to the private trainees.
So what has been your role, in settling all of these issues?
Yes.
As in your association?
Yes. We met the Minister of Health last...
On the 4th of March.
Yes, 4th of March.
Of which Tony Goodman, the PRO himself, was present. So if he's saying that the government is not obliged to employ us, they could have just told us, but the minister himself is much aware that it is the duty of the president of Ghana to create job opportunities for citizens of his country. You understand? That was why he honored our meeting, and we had a very successful meeting with him. You see.
At least they gave you audience.
Yes.
And did it look positive?
Yes.
They did. It was after some months after the meeting that Mr. Tony Goodman said they are not obliged to employ private nurses.
But that wasn't what was discussed at the meeting.
With the minister.
Okay, so well, like we said earlier on, it is International Nurses Day. We're celebrating our nurses. At the same time, we're looking at some of the issues that affect them, and their practice. So your comments, your contributions to all our social media platforms. We're on WhatsApp, we're on Twitter, even Instagram, WhatsApp as well, 0288-500-600. Tell us what you think. And of course, if you have any nurse that you want to celebrate, you can put their names out there and then we'll acknowledge them accordingly.
Indeed, and share your experiences with nursing in Ghana, nurses in Ghana. What positive, negative, you don't care. We want to know how you feel. What is your reaction to the kind of nursing that you get in Ghana, in the public hospitals, in the private hospitals? We'd like to know. So just go across and social media and share. Just remember to use the hashtag GHToday, and we get as many of your comments. We'll try and get Tony Goodman on the line to respond to the claim you made, where he says that the government is not obliged to employ private trained nurses, which I think is quite an interesting claim to make. We'll get him on the line and speak to him to address that particular situation. John, what are the other concerns for you? Of course, your biggest concern now is you don't have a job. So
yes.
How do you survive? Do you do locum?
Locums you won't get. I just wrote a letter to a private hospital as a voluntary worker, and the HR was asking me for working experience.
And did you total the various things you've done?
Yes, I
told
did.
her that, well, during my training, I did this and that and that and that, and I did
told
this WASA thing, and give me a chance and I can show you what I can do.
Yet she asked for 1 year working experience.
But if you total up all your experience, does it add up to a year?
I have 2 years student clinical working experience.
Yeah, so market that as your experience.
I told her, but yet that wasn't what she was looking for.
Do you do like home nursing? Do you go and if you have invalids, can you go there and offer nursing service? Because I know we did that when my father was not well for some time, and we had nurses coming to the house to take care of him. Is that something you do to earn some money?
No, I used to sell, when these selfie sticks came and, phone covers, that was what I was doing, but...
Oh, you're selling selfie sticks as a nurse?
Yes.
Wow, you have to survive.
I know some nurses, when you are going to Labadi, there's a food joint there. She completed Western Hill School of Nursing. She's health assistant clinicals, and she's selling there now.
What is she selling?
Rice.
Wow, from nursing to Wache?
Yes.
I know of a guy who sells yam.
From nursing to yams?
Yes.
Do we have a number? Can you put a number to, members in your association, for instance, those of them that are home today?
Yeah.
Like
about 3,000.
About 3,000?
Yes.
And they all registered members of your association?
Yes.
Yes.
So there's a likelihood that there would be some others that are not on your registry.
Exactly.
Is it possible that we don't have enough clinics and hospitals, so I mean, if you don't have enough facilities, why are you employing people to kind of help?
You see, we always see on TV's
Because-
president commissioning new clinics and cheap compounds. So who are those?
Which nurses are
working
working there? That is the issue.
They can employ.
Would you go to Xavier Tula in the Volta region if a clinic was open
I
up there?
myself have traveled the length and breadth of this country seeking for a job.
Where have you been? Where's the furthest you've been from Accra?
I've been to, last 2 weeks, I went to Akwetia, head of a hospital, GDC. You know, I've been to a place at Ateku.
Where is that?
I don't know, Wasau is in the Western region.
Western region,
Yes,
yeah.
Yes, Ateku. I am from the Western region. I used to write application letters, take a bus from Takoradi, come and distribute them in Accra, then I would take a bus back. And so I've been to the Volta region just to seek for employment.
So you're ready to work?
Well, I am ever ready.
Mr. President.
When you are doing your rotation or national service, you are posted anywhere and you don't have a choice where you are posted to. So the same thing applies when you're looking for a job and they post you anywhere, you have to go. The case you are making is not employment in Accra. What we are seeking is employment everywhere that there is a hospital. So when the postings come, they should open the employment opportunity to everybody.
You should open up.
Yes, open up. Then you distribute wherever the people are supposed to go.
But I'm sure the authorities would be happy to hear you say this, because in the past, and we have heard news reports, you know, when people are posted to some of these areas, you know, they just return, they just leave their posts because, well, sometimes maybe due to the conditions, you know, in these areas. But would you say that personnel who are posted to places like that are motivated enough to want to stay there?
That's what I was coming to. You see, you not post somebody to far away north and the allowance are not coming. How do the person survive? The person is going to rent, do everything for himself, and the person will be there for 6 months, 4 months, no allowance. So the person will come to where she belongs, and then that place, the parents are there to feed and those things. So these are the factors why you hear people not going to the villages and those places. That is the reason.
Are we not? I know that for somebody like GhOne, you are doing everything possible to get employed.
Yes.
But are we not just probably sitting down waiting for governments to employ us, or because then, like Kafri suggested, home nursing. You know, people do this a lot. I'm not sure you even thought about it.
I have, but you know, we have new institutions that you know, they employ nurses and they put them on their institution and, you know, distribute them to where they have patients.
Okay,
But
so it's like
as I said earlier,
they outsource.
Yes,
Okay.
as I said earlier, me sitting here, I've written about 28 applications and still counting. Not to think of the online ones like Jobberman and other stuff, you know. But up to date, here I am.
Do you reckon that these troubles that you go through contribute to the way nurses sometimes take it out in the public, in the clinics and the hospitals, and then therefore the public also has this perception that, look, nurses, man, they are heartless. You even wonder why this person was a nurse.
No.
Fine, we will not say it is not a factor, but that can't be the main cause. You see, if you are working here and the workers here are less than the work to be done, stress sets in. So if we're able to meet that nurse-patient ratio, all these things will come down. And we are individuals from different backgrounds, so sometimes our individual sets in, but it is not about the stress that people go that affect how their output.
Okay, well,
And
Gentlemen-
let me come to the locum you were talking about. Mostly, the person have to come and see you in the hospital before he negotiate with you to come. This is the case that they don't have opportunity to even work
Be
in the hospital. For people to see them and call them to their homes.
what is locum, by the way?
Let me chip.
What is locum?
Okay.
Just educate our viewers.
Locum is, you know, nurses work on shift basis. That's morning, afternoon, and night. So someone working like, let's say 37, when he closes from his morning shift, he goes and work at the private sector, like for the afternoon shift. That's what is locum. So you are not a permanent worker there.
So you work, let's say, in the morning at Kolebu.
Yes, that's
and
where
then,
you've been posted.
And then in the afternoon, you're working in
Let's say
another
La Paz,
facility.
then that is the issue.
So there's no time to rest.
Yes, maybe the person will rest in the night.
In the night, at what time? You're talking about working in the morning at, say, Kolebo, and then doing afternoon shifts in, let's say, a private facility.
Yes.
What time do you get to rest? Because I'm thinking this could affect your output.
You see, for a week, you have about 2 days off. And when you go on 9 shifts, you have about 3 days off. So let's say I go to work in the morning, I close at 2 o'clock. Then I have another work I do in the evening. I have time to rest. So fine, when you're exhausted, it affects your output, but there are ways in checking that. Although the locum is not even accepted, people do it at the back door. It's not something which is accepted.
In case you just joined us, well, we're having a conversation on nursing in Ghana. Today is International Nurses Day, and we're celebrating the nurses who are doing a great job keeping us together, healthy and strong. But there are also issues, and the issues are what we are concerned about on Hard Talk. So we have 2 representatives from the Ghana Association of Health Training Institutions, GATI, the president, and then a spokesperson. And they are looking at issues of privately trained nurses not getting opportunities to work. According to the president, there's been some policy from the ministry basically saying that the government organizations, institutions are not obliged to employ privately trained nurses, and that leaves a gap. John hasn't been, he's been at home for 2 years now, fully qualified, he says, has all the qualifications as a publicly trained nurse, but can't get a job because the government institutions will not employ him. What are the issues? If you're a nurse, would like to hear from you. You can send us messages across social media, hashtag GhToday. And if you want us to call you, just send us a message. We'll call you right back, and you can share some of the issues on the table. We are making efforts to get through to Tony Goodman from the Ghana Ministry of Health, and then he will also clarify certain issues that Obed brought up. How do you maintain your level of hope, John? 2 years without a job, and you know you are fully qualified and you can work, and you have the passion and the drive and the passion are going nowhere. How do you maintain that level?
You know, my hope, I elevated when we met the minister, with regards to the meeting that we had and what he told us, I had hope that, surely.
So he's giving you some hope.
Yeah, but until what, the PRO said.
Okay, well, speaking of the PR, we do have the public relations officer, the person in charge of speaking for the Ministry of Health on the line. Tony Goodman, welcome to GH Today. Hi, this is Kafui. Hello, Mr. Goodman, good morning.
Good morning, Kafui.
Tony, how are you doing?
My brother, I'm okay.
Fantastic. This whole year we haven't spoken, so Happy New Year to you, all right? Okay, Tony, we're talking nursing here, and I have representatives from the Ghana Association of Health Training Institutions. The president made a claim that you said that the government institutions are not obliged to hire.
The line is very bad.
Tony, can you hear me? Tony?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Good. So the Ghana Association of Health Training Institutions is making a claim that you said the government is not obliged to hire privately trained nurses. Is that something that is on record?
Kafui, your line is breaking.
Tony, I can hear you perfectly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Good. So there's a claim here I want you to substantiate. Can you hear me? Tony?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Yes, but the line is breaking.
No, but I can hear you perfectly well. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. But when you're asking a question, at the point
okay, I'll take my time. Maybe the frequency of my voice is playing with the line, but I'll take my time. So there's a claim that you said the government is not obliged to hire privately trained nurses. Do you hear that?
All right, let me try answering, even though I can't hear it clearly. I've gotten the impulse of the question. One, I speak for Ministry of Health and not government. I granted an interview saying that the ministry is more obliged to engage those we have signed bond with. than any other person who can seek job anywhere. The Ministry of Health in 2015 engaged a lot of private nurses. Because I'm in Sugakoko, I don't have the data. We engaged a lot of the private nurses, leaving those we signed bond with, which is the public trained nurses. Now, the public trained nurses went on demonstration claiming that you have signed bond with us and you chose to rather engage somebody you have no bond with. That person you have no bond with can go to any other facility, be it the private or the quasi-government institution, to seek for a job. I cannot do that because you have bonded with me. You have bonded me to say that I have to work for you this number of years because you train me. So we had to now try and get clearance and also engage the public ones. Then the private ones also came and said, why are you discriminating? You are employing the public trained ones, leaving us. In any case, we have various nurses in this country. We have various categories of nurses. Some went to university, others went to the private institutions. The ministry also has its own training institutions, about 80 of them, where we train nurses, midwives, community health nurses, and others. With those we train, the ministry must employ them. If we have other or additional clearance, then we'll look at those we did not train, like those who attended the university and those who attended the private school. In any case, the ministry is not the only employer in the health sector when it comes to health care. There are a lot of private facilities across the country. So this is what I said, and that is the impulse of my interview.
Okay, well, thank you very much for the clarification. Tony, let me ask this question. Who gave the authorization for the private institutions to be set up?
It's National Accreditation Board. If you want to establish an institution in this country, you go to National Accreditation Board.
Yes, but then, we get the point that government is not obliged to hire these privately trained workers. But then, do we not need more nurses in the system?
No, you see, there is also another point. I have mentioned that government is not the only, or the Ministry of Health, we are not the only employers when it comes to healthcare delivery.
Granted, that is clear. That's clear.
Institutions complement the work of government.
Yes.
And that is why we regulate that sector as well. I have also visited a lot of private hospitals where you have a lot of privately trained nurses there. When you go to Mary Lucy and other hospitals across the country, there are a lot of private nurses who are working there. Some of them are even working for government at the same time working in the private hospital. So we have also not said that we are not going to employ anybody. But we're saying that now our budget can take care of this number of workers. The rest will have to go into buying medicine and other consumables.
No, that is clear.
Patient.
That is clear, Tony. Yeah. But you speak for the Ministry of Health. The Ministry of Health covers the health of Ghana.
I'm trying hard to hear you.
I can hear you very well. You speak for the Ministry of Health. And the Ministry of Health covers not just government institutions, but private as well. Are you leaving the private people out to dry?
We don't regulate the private schools. We regulate the private hospitals. I have mentioned that the schools are regulated by the National Accreditation Board and the Nursing and Midwifery Council. They look at the standard, who is training there, what type of exams they are taking. They regulate that. So it doesn't mean that if you complete school, the Ministry of Health, must engage you.
Okay, fine.
We produce for the country.
Okay.
If country today you establish a private hospital, you have people who will be working for you.
Right.
From any other, depending on where I want to work. If I'm a government trained person, I may want to go to the private sector or work in the government hospitals. And we have a lot of examples in it.
Okay, Tony, this is my final question. I'm sure Beswa has some questions for you. Listen, so as the PRO for the Ministry of Health, what advice do you give to a young nurse who has been trained by a private institution but cannot get a job? What should he do or she do?
That person should apply to any other private hospital as well, if they can wait. When we met them, we told them clearly that we have requested for financial clearance for some nurses. We've gotten some for the number of nurses we want to recruit now, which is about close to 5,000. We are still expecting some more, which we are hopeful that they may be passed. But if they have other choices elsewhere, they can also apply and go work there. These are some of the things I can also repeat here. They can also take advantage of the youth employment program that is currently ongoing. I hear they are recruiting some and a lot of nurses, graduate nurses, privately trained nurses, and they will sign contracts with them for 3 years. That is also another avenue for them to also look at. I have mentioned that if they still want to go for the youth employment because they are still waiting, they can come to the ministry and we will arrange for them to also get that model and then we'll regulate it. But for now, our budget can take this number of workers and we are going to make sure that we employ that number. Going forward, we will also employ on the Ministry of Finance to give us additional financial clearance, which will cover the graduate nurses and the privately trained ones.
Okay, Tony, I need to find out from you what the ministry's plans are for improving the nurse-patient ratio in the country.
Kafri?
Tony?
Yes, your question again.
How are you improving the nurse-patient ratio for Ghana?
For now, I can tell you that with our conversation, it tells you that we have actually improved upon that, and we are about a patient is about 795 thereabouts. Even though it's not the best, we are still working at improving upon that. What the problem actually is not that getting the patient, getting the nurse per patient ratio. And now, what you need is to put in place infrastructures. Make sure you put in place the infrastructure that would have the nurses working. Expand the existing one and make sure that you have a robust system that can take on those nurses. If you have few hospitals and you want to achieve this particular ratio, you would pack nurses in the hospital and you will not have anything to do. So, as you can see clearly, our policy now is to expand the existing facilities and put up more facilities where we don't have them, so that we will have a lot of nurses going into those facilities to work.
But of course, if you are a privately trained nurse, you shouldn't be looking at the government because you are going to deal with those who have been bonded first.
So for now, you see, going forward, if you are expanding your infrastructure, obviously you have private nurses working for you. And it doesn't mean that we don't employ them. As I mentioned, last year we gave a lot of opportunity to the private trained one. So it's something we'll continue to do. If you have a limited facility, you look at what you have and just make do with that. We will expand and everybody will get space in the health sector.
How about some creative thinking? How about bonding the private? You employ them and then bond them. Say, look, we employ you. You have to be with us for 2 years.
It's like going to bond somebody in Central University or going to bond somebody in any other private university.
But they want to work, Tony. Tony, they want to work. They want to work. So if I'm sure if you told my friend here, GhOne Nketia, who has been out of work for 2 years now, that look, we are going to bond you for 3 years, but you're going to get a job for 3 years. I'm sure he may think about it.
The bond did not come just like that. It came when we as a country decided to cease or stop the greener pasture issue we were all writing essays on in the past. We decided to introduce this bond system to get the nurses into the country and get them some facilities to work, give them some condition, tell them that don't go, you have to work for me for this period.
Has it worked? Has it worked? Tony, has it worked? Has the bond worked?
It has really worked. It has really worked. It has really worked.
Do you have statistics?
In the country,
do you have figures?
They were bonded. That is why you still have them in the country. It has really worked. It's a policy that has worked for us as a country, but moving forward, we just have to review. That is why we've now taken away the bond. We've stopped giving allowances now. It means that we've also stopped issuing the bond. We have no bond with those who will be completing in 2017.
Tony Goodman is the PRO for the Ministry of Health. Thank you very much, Tony, for your time.
Thank you, my brother.
All right, have a good day. Well, we're talking nurses, International Nurses Day. Just gone by was the PRO for the Ministry of Health. It's time for World in 60. We'll come back and get the thoughts of GhOne and Obed. They are from the Ghana Association of Health Training Institutions. And if you have any comments about the level of nursing you're getting in the country, we'd like to hear from you. Hashtag GH Today. But for now, it's World in 60 seconds.
A senior diplomat says China has widespread support in the international community for its decision not to have anything to do with a legal case lodged by the Philippines against Chinese claims in the South China Sea. The dollar edged higher against the yen, with traders citing position scoring by short-term players, although doubts over global growth prospects continue to cloud the greenback's outlook. The chairman of the White House Council of Economic Advisers has told a German newspaper if Britain were to leave the European Union, it would hurt Britain and Europe as well as the global economy. Oil prices fell, dragged down by the gradual return of Canadian oil sands output, reversing a sharp rise the previous day when the U.S. government detailed an unexpected fall in crude inventories.
Okay, GH Today, it's Hard Talk. We're looking at nursing in Ghana. So there's some messages, right?
Yeah, indeed. This one says that, well, so now he can hear you. All that he's saying are lies. Mr. James Yambo, chairman of the Conference of Heads of Health Training Institutions, asked members of the Nurses and Midwifery Council to pay regular visits to the schools to ensure quality training. Now, this is a situation where they have been trained, but no jobs. In the case of GhOne, for instance. Danny McFed says the allowances student nurses from government training schools take during their training makes them eligible to be enrolled after school to serve in places for the allowances. I guess you mean to say that probably because they're taking the allowances, they're able to pay back because they get to be placed in some of these government institutions. Is that what is happening?
Yes, there's no more allowance for whosoever.
Okay. Yeah, indeed. I mean, we and in fact, I think somewhere last week, President came back to explain reasons for that. Right. This one says that it is sad to hear all this, but you see, when you go to government hospitals, the nurses are rude. I quite remember my niece getting sick at midnight, and we went to a government hospital only for the nurse to be WhatsApping without minding us. Okay, so these are some of your messages.
Well, keep them coming in. John, you heard the PRO of the Ministry of Health. Are you happy?
Not quite happy. As I said, when I started, I told you that with the institutions involved in the posting, we have three, which is the Ghana Health Service, the mission hospitals, and the teaching hospitals. But because we weren't given the financial clearance, the mission hospitals couldn't employ us, and the teaching hospitals couldn't employ us. The Ghana Health Service comprises of the government hospitals, you understand? And from what he said that the private sector is there for us, the issue is the public nurses who have been posted have already occupied those spaces. As we explained to you that they are doing locum jobs, you understand? So if you apply to that hospital, there's no vacancy for you.
Obed.
Yes, I'm still disappointed in what he said. You see, if you are in a school now and you hear what the PRO for MOH is saying, it means that when you are in the private schools, you don't have any future with the employment now. You see, financial clearance is given by the Ministry of Health through Ministry of Finance. So it is their directive that is preventing Ministry of Finance to give financial clearance to those who have completed now. When you come and tell us that because people are underbound, now those underbound, because you give them allowance, which were taxpayers' money, it was private and public people who paid those taxes. So if because of that you are not employing me, and you tell me that you are employing them, and you can't give me even a time that there will be opportunity for me to be employed. Now there's a directive, and those people cannot go against it. The directive is that they should not even sell the forms for the private trainees.
So and we want to wrap this up. What is the future of nursing in Ghana for you, and then I'll end with GhOne? What's the future?
Very uncertain.
Simple and sweet. GhOne, what's your future? Are you going to be raptured? It says the bond is preventing people from escaping the shores of Ghana to go and practice nursing everywhere. There are sick people all around the world. I hear that from nurses and doctors who are tired and fed up. Can we see you buying a ticket and checking out one of these days?
If I get the opportunity.
If you get the opportunity,
yes,
where will you go?
Australia.
Okay. Why Australia?
The nursing jobs are very high there.
Very high. You've been doing your research?
Yes, I'm a follower of their job website.
Okay. So the next time we hear from you, maybe next year by this time you'll be in Australia.
I pray so.
You pray so? Okay, well, we'll leave it here. Thank you very much. GhOne Ketia is a spokesperson for the Ghana Association for Health Training Institutions. And your particular subgroup is called what, the Coalition of Unemployed Private Nurses. And Obed,
President of Ghana Association of Health Training.
Yes, Obed Asari Bediako. Gentlemen, thank you very much for your inputs. Happy International Nurses Day. And hey, have courage. Cheer up, GhOne. It will be well. Whether it's in Australia or in Ghana, you practice your profession.
Thank you.
All right, okay.
All right, so that was our conversation on the nurses, the issues, and we heard the PR of the health ministry. They said it all. But as to whether that will all play out, we live to see. So we hope that come another International Nurses Day, we'll be telling a different story.
Indeed.
Just joined us, we're live on GH1 TV, and this is GH Today, the most... Well, are we number what?
So right now we're number 3 on the trends.
3.
We're coming.
Well, so listen, yesterday you put us at the top.
Yes.
So keep tweeting, keep doing what you're doing to keep us at the top the whole week.
Check this out, Peswa, before you even continue. If your wife is a nurse, then you know the sacrifices they make. That's from a gentleman on Twitter whose name is United with Christ.
Indeed.
If your wife is a nurse, then you know the sacrifices they make.
They're never home. They're never available. They sacrifice their homes for, us,
Yes.
for their patients.
Indeed.
And so, yes, listen, it's your day, nurses. No matter the difficulties, the challenges, you still do what you do, and we salute you.
One time.
All right.